What's up, crew? Welcome back to Libertalia Game Supply. Now, I just posted an updated bujin deck list a few days ago. If you haven't seen it, check that out. It's fairly similar to the previous list, but cleaned it up a little bit, tried to make it a little bit more focused on Torifun or bust, because that's really the way the deck is. There aren't really any other better starters that you can search for. But in that video, I had mentioned that I just saw a new card that got released recently, and I'm sure you've probably seen it by now too. It's called Blink Out. It's a quick play spell, and what I thought was interesting about it was, for one, it's a removal interrupt type card on your opponent's turn. So what it does is you target a link monster on the field, put it back in the extra deck, and then you get to special summon one of the targets that was used for its link summon out of the graveyard, so long as it was in the graveyard the whole time that was occurring. And I'll explain that in the little combo video after this. That threw me for a loop there, so just letting you know. Now, the interesting thing about this is on your opponent's turn, if they're link climbing and they're in one of their transitional monster summons and it doesn't really do much outside of just being like a bridge into the next link level up, you can just take it away, give them one monster back, and now they don't have the option to do that. Even though you're giving them a body, you're taking away like a link 3 or something. That can also be removal on your turn. If they have link monsters with effects that interact with your plays, you can just clear it out right there. So interesting effect. The thing that I thought was particularly useful in bujins is that it can remove your own link monster and summon a material back as well. Now, the reason that would matter is because bujins have a link monster, a very good link monster, Bujinki Ahashima. It allows you to extend a little bit harder, gives you some extra bodies, gives you an extra deck monster. The problem is it doesn't allow itself to be used as link material per its own effect. Now, that makes perfect sense because otherwise you would essentially have a 1.5 card link 4 at any point. If you wanted to make access code or Appaloosa or whatever you wanted to do, you'd be able to do it super easily. So I understand why they did it that way, but it does make it a little bit of a weird card to try to play around in your extra deck. So once it's on the board, it kind of just sits there. There's not a whole lot more you can do with it. It does have that back row pop effect, but that's a little bit more niche, less useful, and it just sits there. You don't really play anything to tribute summon with unless you're playing the Bysteel version, and at that point, I don't know that it's really worth burning your normal summon on a Bysteel tribute summon. Your graveyard is going to be plenty full at all times. So what I was considering was using Blink Out to remove the Ahashima yourself. You put it back in your extra deck so you can use it again on your following turn, plus you get an extra body to continue Xyz summoning with. Or if you were to play more link monsters, you would have an additional body to link summon with. Now, as it turns out, what I did not consider is that in the main combo lines that I'm using the Ahashima for anything particularly useful or powerful, you're using tokens to summon it. Now, the issue there being obviously that once a token is link summoned away, it doesn't go to your graveyard, it just, evaporates into the ether and it is no more. So in order to play Blink Out, you have to play around the tokens, so no tokens. I suppose it would give you the option to cut the Galaxy Photon Dragon and the Photon Sanctuary from the deck and make room for something else, but not worth it at all. Playing those two cards means you can make a lot of your bigger extra deck monsters with a lot fewer cards in your hand, and so ultimately I was disappointed, to say the least. But I went through and kind of played around with a little bit to see if there's any sort of like additional play that you can get out of playing the Blink Out if you were to try to focus on summoning the Ahashima using actual monsters and not tokens, and I kinda did. You would need to open your Torifun, an extra extender, bujin monster, plus the Blink Out in order to make an okay board, and really I think that board can be made with or without the Blink Out if we're talking about opening a specific 4-card hand, So I'll show it to you anyway just because I went through the effort to figure it out. But ultimately, I'm sure there are plenty of decks that can make really nice use of it being removal as well as an extender on your own turn. Bujins is not one of them, and that's sad, but here it is. All right, well, just for the sake of explanation, we'll run through, the only thing that I think gives you any sort of extra type of advantage off of playing the Blink Out in a bujin deck. So you'd have to open 2 extenders and a spare bujin, or a Torifun, an extender, and a spare bujin, and the Blink Out. So your odds of opening it are not good, but like I stated previously, it doesn't add anything to what it was already a pretty decent comboing hand with this deck. So I had to reach a little bit just to find something to make a video about, So we'll start out with that Torifun. It's just your same old play lines over and over and over again. We'll run through the whole deal, make sure we hit all of our effects. Mahitatsu will get rid of the Torifun. That way the Torifun will not ask me if I want to equip it to something 45 times. Dump the old turtle. Turtle's so good. And then we get our Ahashima on board here. And so now you could blink out at any point to put the something back on the board, but we'll save it for the end. It doesn't really make a difference. So we'll summon our 2, our Sinew, and let's go Hair. It doesn't really matter, I suppose. And then we'll make the Susan right away. Susan's gonna search our rank up to get to our Amaterasu. We'll try to burn through this real quick. We'll grab our Haruko. We'll Haruko activate to get an Amaterasu here. Use the Susan. So many effects to ask me about every single play that I make. We're gonna activate that Amaterasu. We'll detach 1. We're gonna need something to banish, and I think in the graveyard all I got are the ones I used for the Link Summon. So we'll leave those in there. We'll get rid of the Susanoo so that we can banish that for the Harume in a second. And that'll be right now, actually. So we'll banish our Susanoo, Harume, make a new Susanoo. We're gonna make all 3 this turn, actually. Susanoo effect, attach 1, search a new Harume, banish 1, special it, and now we'll blink out, and we will blink out the Ahashima and special summon the Mahitatsu. So I was confused attempting to record this a moment ago. It didn't let me summon this as a target even though it was in my graveyard. I think what it is that once it's been sent to the graveyard, if it got resummoned, like I resummoned the Hair in this little play that you just watched with the Ahashima, it no longer counts as a target that was used to link summon with, apparently. So you would have to leave, like right here I can make the Kagutsuchi. If you didn't do, like if you had to banish this for some reason, you would just make the F-Zero, make the new Susanoo, search the other rank up and turn that into a Kagutsuchi, or you can use these 2 to make an IP. So you do have a couple play options. However, I would say that for the most part, you probably can do all of the exact same plays with the deck without playing Blink Out. If you were to open a 3 extender, a 2 extender plus a spare card hand, you're probably going to be able to build essentially the same board. And so I don't know that it's really worthwhile to play the Blink Out in this deck particularly. We'll run, I didn't need to do that, but I wanted to do the whole search and rank up play again just for the sake of it. So we're gonna make our Kagutsuchi, but really you're probably better off going with IP if you're planning on stealing something with the F-Zero anyway. So up to you. We'll make our Kagutsuchi. We're gonna mill our 5. It's unshuffled, so it won't matter, but at least doing this, like making the Kagutsuchi, can set up a little bit more of your graveyard. And right now it just looks like a deck list, but we have the Sinew, the Hair, the Turtle. The F-Zero protects itself from being destroyed. You get that negate and steal. The Kagutsuchi can protect Beast Warriors from being destroyed twice, once per detach, and I have 2 materials on it, so actually not a horrible little setup, but like I said, you could probably still make this board. If you were to open the 2 extenders plus the spare card anyway, you would just play the Galaxy Photon Dragon version of this, and you could still make all these same plays. So, yep, that's that. I'm sure there are plenty of other decks that it fits in really nicely, but bujins did not work in the way that I had hoped, and so, oh well, that's the way of it. We'll move right on. In the meantime, happy deck building. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Goodbye.